The sky above the cosmos cracked open with a resonance that echoed across dimensions. Realms beyond mortal comprehension trembled as ancient forces stirred once more. Deep within the bleeding realms, where forgotten gods whispered in shadows and broken universes wept in silence, a rumbling began. It was not the sound of war drums, nor the march of armies. It was the heartbeat of a forgotten vengeance, an ancient wrath that had not yet finished its judgment. From this cauldron of loathing rose Mangog, the embodiment of a billion souls consumed by hate, once sealed away by the Asgardians, but now free, unbound by prophecy, released by the weakening walls between pantheons. Mangog stood alone, yet not alone. He was the sum total of every injustice ever suffered by an annihilated race. He remembered nothing of individual identities, only the agony of extinction, the fury of divine betrayal. Where gods ruled with indifference, Mangog existed as the consequence. His march was not toward conquest, but toward retribution. Asgard had fallen, rebuilt and fallen again. But now Mangog sought not one realm. He would walk through all pantheons. He would break the false thrones of Olympus, Heliopolis, and even the sacred dominions of the presence. It was not dominance he desired. It was obliteration. The gods must answer. In the realm of Earth, far below the shimmering veils of cosmic judgment, the skies blackened over Kahndaq. Lightning danced in restless arcs as if protesting some unseen truth. Black Adam stood atop the temple that bore his symbol, arms folded, his gaze reaching beyond the stars. He had felt it, a disturbance that even the gods feared to whisper. He who wielded the might of Shu, the stamina of Mehen, the wisdom of Zehuti, and the lightning of Aton, felt a tremor, not in the earth, but in the balance of power itself. His people were thriving, his enemies silent, yet unease burned in his soul. For centuries, Black Adam had known the hypocrisy of gods. He had seen how Olympus turned its gaze away from human suffering, how the wizard who granted him his powers played games with mortal lives, and how divine systems existed not to protect, but to dominate. That was why he ruled Kahndaq himself. He answered to no gods. He was a god to his people, and though he bore the wrath of storms and the fury of war, he believed in order, his order, forged in blood, sacrifice, and discipline. He believed that if gods were to exist, they must be accountable or be replaced. When the first tremors of Mangog's return reached Earth, it wasn't through cosmic portals, but through symbols. Pantheon icons shattered overnight, their temples razed, their priests silenced in an instant. The gods of lesser realms had already fallen. The gods of Egypt felt it too. Isis and Osiris whispered warnings through the wind, but Adam ignored them. He did not fear myth, but the truth came not in whispers, but in a roar. Mangog comes. The words weren't spoken. They etched themselves into the bones of every deity across the spheres. In the citadel of eternity, the spectre stood still. In the council of eternity, even Shazam's visage wavered. Mangog was not a god to be reasoned with. He was consequence. The gods had committed sins, and Mangog was their punishment. And yet, among all divine champions, only Black Adam stood as one willing to challenge him, not as a subordinate god's avatar, but as a self-made deity who shaped his nation through pain and discipline. When word reached Adam that Mangog had torn through the Egyptian underworld, slaying death guardians and breaking the Ankh that sealed Duat, it was no longer a matter of ignorance. Mangog was not hunting gods. He was erasing them, unmaking their essence. And he was coming for Adam next. The sky cracked again. This time, Mangog stepped through. Towering, grotesque eyes blazing with ancient anguish, he looked upon Kahndaq, not with hatred, but indifference. Hatred implied focus. Mangog did not discriminate. To him, Black Adam was merely another node in the great lattice of divine failure, another godling to be erased. Black Adam, cloaked in lightning, rose into the heavens to meet him. There was no exchange of names, no posturing, only silence. Then a voice, not a growl but a cold abyss, spoke from Mangog. "You bear the power of gods." "I took the power of gods," Black Adam replied, lightning coursing around his fists. "And I'll destroy anything that threatens my people." Mangog's eyes burned brighter. "You are not a savior. You are a tyrant who mimics their cruelty. You wield divine might with mortal pride. You are the same." Black Adam's lips curled in scorn. "And you are a beast who lashes out at everything because you cannot undo your pain. That is not justice. That is cowardice." The debate had begun. Mangog raised his clawed hand and pointed toward the temple below. "They worship you, yet they suffer. They obey you, yet they are still mortal. You rule as a god while cursing the gods. You have become what you swore to destroy. The sin is not in godhood, it is in hypocrisy." "You know nothing of sacrifice," Black Adam spat. "I have bled for every inch of land I protect. I do not pretend to be benevolent. I rule because I must. Because if I do not, weak men will. The gods failed. I did not." Mangog took a step forward, and the ground cracked under his weight, not metaphorically but in truth, as tectonic plates shifted. "Then you admit it. You justify your tyranny by comparing yourself to worse tyrants. That is not strength. That is rationalized dominance. You are the same as they were. That is why you will fall." Adam's eyes flared. "And you justify mass extinction under the guise of vengeance. You annihilate the innocent along with the guilty. That is not justice. That is genocide." Mangog said nothing. His silence screamed louder than words. And then Black Adam said what none dared. "You are not judgment, you are tantrum. You are the child of grief, unable to die, unable to grow. Your crusade is not divine, it is pathetic." The storm above howled. The wind, the lightning, the sands of the desert all froze. Mangog raised his head, and the sky bent with his fury. And yet, something passed through the void between them, an understanding, not agreement but acknowledgement. For in their words, both had spoken fragments of truth. Black Adam had become what he hated. Mangog had become what he was created to punish. Both were born from divine failure, one shaped by mortal defiance, the other by divine vengeance. But only one had embraced his nature without delusion. The battle would be more than physical. It would be ideological, a contest not only of strength but of purpose. One fought to rule over chaos with iron law. The other existed to annihilate all traces of divine law. The sky split open for the final time. Across realms, gods watched, mortals wept. And in that suspended moment before the first blow was thrown, all creation held its breath, not because it feared destruction, but because it could not decide who was right. And so began the final judgment. Lightning crashed against the sky with such violence that even the firmament seemed to recoil. In the heavens above Kahndaq, where silence had reigned between giants moments earlier, the stillness shattered as Black Adam launched forward like a thunderbolt incarnate, fists blazing with divine lightning. The force of his movement alone vaporized the clouds, revealing the barren cosmos above, like the gods themselves were forced to bear witness. But Mangog did not flinch. He stood unmoved as Adam's blow collided with his chest, unleashing a shockwave so immense it sent tremors across continents. Mountains in distant lands cracked, oceans heaved, yet Mangog remained upright, eyes burning with cold fury. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted his massive arm and backhanded Black Adam with the force of a dying star. The war god tumbled through the sky, smashing through mountains, tearing apart ancient rock formations before he halted mid-air and roared back with wrath. He surged again, this time unleashing the full fury of the gods he commanded. The wisdom of Zehuti guided his attacks. The power of Aton surged through his veins. The courage of Mehen kept his spirit defiant, even as the embodiment of hate bore down on him like a cosmic plague. They collided again, this time in the upper stratosphere. A cataclysmic explosion burst forth, light brighter than the sun, force stronger than nuclear detonation. Satellites were torn from orbit. Weather across the planet spasmed in chaos. In orbit, the Justice League's watchtower picked up the readings. "This isn't a battle," Batman whispered grimly. "It's theological warfare." Within the maelstrom, Adam channeled the lightning of Shu into focused, punishing strikes, each bolt strong enough to annihilate city blocks. He targeted Mangog's head, his joints attempting to overwhelm the monster's senses. The battle became a blur of speed and violence, each moment a catastrophic detonation of godlike power. But Mangog's durability was not just legendary, it was metaphysical. He did not bleed, not truly. His body, though seemingly flesh and fang, was forged from concentrated divine wrath, a construct of will from a race annihilated unjustly. The more Adam struck him, the more his power seemed to grow. His muscles bulged, his roar echoed not in air, but in reality itself. Then Mangog spoke, not to Adam but to the heavens. "This one calls himself a god. See how he bleeds. See how his strength falters beneath the weight of truth." And Mangog struck, not with claw but with will. An invisible pulse radiated from him, a manifestation of divine hatred. It was not a spell, it was the memory of a genocide so vast, so profound that even Black Adam's soul shuddered under its weight. Adam faltered in midair, momentarily overwhelmed, not by pain, but by revelation. For a brief second, he felt the death of Mangog's race. He felt their prayers unanswered, their screams echoing into silence. He felt the cold indifference of the gods he had once sworn vengeance against. But that second passed. Adam clenched his fists and shouted his defiance. "I do not answer to gods, I answer only to justice." Mangog's eyes narrowed. "Then you are a hypocrite because you wield the tools of tyrants and call yourself savior." Adam roared and flew down with speed surpassing light itself, crashing into Mangog and driving him into the earth. The impact shattered the landscape. A canyon hundreds of miles wide split open, revealing glowing magma beneath. Mangog's body plowed through the crust and kept going, sinking through layers of the planet as Black Adam drove him downward, refusing to relent. They emerged in the planet's molten core, surrounded by seismic fire. Here, Adam unleashed it all. Every ounce of divine power surged from him in an explosion so violent it sent magma geysering from the planet's surface, creating a storm of fire across half the globe. But in the stillness after, Mangog rose, unfazed, his body glowing. Red hot but uninjured, he grabbed Adam by the neck, lifting him effortlessly, and looked him dead in the eye. "You think pain is power. That might makes right. But you wield vengeance like a banner while damning others who do the same." He hurled Adam through the mantle like a missile. The war god erupted back into the sky, trailing arcs of fire, smashing through mountain ranges and desert dunes until he crashed into the temple of Kahndaq itself. Dust and sacred stone rained from the heavens. From the ruins Black Adam rose. He bled now, his nose, his mouth, his pride. He spat blood and rose again. "I protect my people. That justifies everything." And then Mangog did what even gods feared. He began to laugh. "A tyrant's words, you protect them as long as they kneel. Your rule is not peace, it is dominance draped in purpose. But I I offer no pretense. I am vengeance without hypocrisy." Black Adam bellowed and shot forward once more. Their battle resumed, but something shifted. Adam began to tire, not physically but philosophically. His mind, once anchored in absolute purpose, wavered, not because he feared Mangog's might, but because Mangog's words scraped at the hidden rot beneath Adam's convictions. Black Adam had ruled for centuries. He had claimed to break divine chains, but had forged his own in their place. And as the battle dragged on, Mangog became not just his enemy, but his mirror. Each time Adam struck him, it was as though he struck a version of himself, the part he refused to acknowledge, the tyrant he claimed not to be. And Mangog, he never tired. His hatred was eternal, self-sustaining. As Adam weakened, Mangog only grew stronger. With each philosophical fracture in Adam's spirit, Mangog's strength multiplied. At last, Mangog lifted Adam by the throat again, this time over the ruins of Kahndaq. The people looked up, terrified, broken, uncertain. They worshipped. "You," Mangog said, his voice like thunder. "But they feared you. You ruled them, not freed them. Your kingdom was built on divine hierarchy. That makes you exactly what I was created to destroy." Black Adam, barely conscious, summoned the last of his power. Lightning gathered. The winds howled. Mighty Shaz. Mangog closed his jaws around the word. With a final, decisive blow, he crushed the invocation with brute force. The lightning faltered. The sky grew dim. And then Mangog dropped him. Black Adam plummeted into the ruins of his temple, unconscious, his power stripped. He lay in the dust, fallen not by brute force alone, but by philosophical deconstruction, by the undoing of everything he believed in. Mangog turned to the crowd. He did not raise a claw to them. He did not destroy them. He had made his point. "You are free now," he said. "Not because I saved you, but because your God has fallen." He vanished into the storm, not victorious in the traditional sense, but complete in his mission. He had not merely defeated Black Adam, he had unmade him. And thus Mangog stood, the victor, not because his fists struck harder, but because his truth proved heavier. In a war of gods, where fists shatter planets and minds echo across eternity, the deepest blow is not to the body, but to the soul.